All right, what is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Hope everybody is doing well. Was not expecting to crank out one of these here today, but happy to do so. Of course, when there's some big news that goes down, definitely want to talk about it. I want to give my opinion on it. I hope people on the channel are excited to talk about it as well. So this one, just a recorded one. Kevin Durant obviously traded to the Houston Rockets. So this is what this is going to be about. I got a couple different angles on here. I got a few things that I want to hit on. I am going to go live tonight as well. So right after Game 7, it's Game 7. I mean, this is it. You can't go any further in the NBA Finals. You can't extend the regular season you can't extend the postseason out any further than tonight. So that'll be fun to do that. Big news. I'm driving. Was actually driving up to my studio and getting a chance to listening. I'm listening to NBA Sirius XM, and they were talking Oklahoma City Thunder. Somebody that I've had on the show, Andrew Schlecht, who covers Oklahoma City Thunder. Amin El Hassan is on there, so they're having the conversation. I don't know what I did. I came back and I'm still listening, and all I'm hearing them do is just break down the Houston Rockets and the Phoenix Suns. And I'm like, oh, okay, this must be one of the candidates. I saw this morning that there's a guy who covers or is part of Arizona sports and basically saying that, hey, trade's coming down either today or tomorrow, that one way or the other, KD is going to get traded somewhere. He gets traded to the Houston Rockets. That becomes the reality of the situation. And we'll break it all down here. I will say this. I will say that of all the teams I did not want Kevin Durant to go to, or no, let me position it this way. Of all the destinations KD could have gone to, I think this one is the toughest to swallow if you're a Laker fan or if you're somebody in the Western Conference and you're obviously trying to compete with what is an incredibly, incredibly difficult West. And I'll give you some of my reasons why. But let me first just kind of explain what exactly the details of the trade was. The Houston Rockets are getting Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns are getting Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's in this draft, which is coming up in less than a week, and then 5 second-round picks. So the the Phoenix Suns not getting a terrible package. We'll get into them in just a second. They're not getting a terrible package, and I think they're going to have some options of what to do for the remainder of this season or this upcoming season coming up. Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, 2025 number 10 pick, 5 second-round picks are all going to the Phoenix Suns. I did read this as well. The Heat had made multiple offers for Kevin Durant, but ultimately turned down the opportunity to place Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, Haywood Highsmith, the number 20 pick, and other draft assets in a deal. It did come down to Miami. It did come down to the Houston Rockets. It was both of those teams that were fighting for the services of KD. And honestly, I think unfortunately for the Lakers and a lot of teams in the Western Conference, he didn't go to the East. He didn't go to Miami, where you really didn't have to worry about another team competing, is what it is. If that happened in Miami, he ends up with the Houston Rockets. Were there some other teams involved? Sure. But it felt like this last 24 hours or so it came down to 2 teams, Miami or the Houston Rockets. Wherever Kevin Durant landed, it was going to be with one of those 2 franchises, and he ends up with the Houston Rockets. Okay, let me just kind of give my initial thoughts here. Probably not going to go, by the way, too long in this video. This is just going to be more of just an initial reaction, and then whatever happens from there happens from there. Let me give at least a quick idea of, at least from my perspective, the thoughts on the trade. Here's why I did not want Kevin Durant to go to the Houston Rockets. I just thought that Houston is in a position where they're ready to win right now. We all saw them. Hey, everybody got to see the Houston Rockets last year. They were phenomenal. I love the way Houston played. By the way, how about the timing of this? I had Ryan Hollins, who does TV for the Houston Rockets, 10-year vet in the NBA. I had him on the show on Friday. And things like that, when you're employed by a team, you can't really talk about free agency. You can't really talk about trade. So I, obviously clearly avoided that stuff. But here we are a couple days later, and the trade goes down. I'll have to text him and see what his thoughts are. Houston was a phenomenal team this past season. I mean, people can hate on them. People can say whatever they want. I thought Houston was wildly competitive. And I picked Houston to beat the Golden State Warriors in the first round in 7 games. It ended up being the Warriors that won in 7. They play defense. They certainly have a head coach in Ime Udoka who knows what he's doing. They have an identity. They are kind of a tough-nosed, old-school team. They have guys that are disciplined. They play a specific role. What they did not have is somebody that they can give the ball to and say, go get us a bucket. Well, you got Kevin Durant, who might be one of the best players in the history of the NBA, to say, give me the ball and I'll go get you a bucket. And I really actually feel like they just addressed by far their biggest need. And did they give up some pieces? Sure. Was Jalen Green an asset for them? He was. Was Dylan Brooks an asset for them? Yes, he was as well. But I think whatever they gave up, they're a smart enough team and they got a good enough coach. Well, they will figure out how to fill in what they lost. And certainly something that they didn't have with Kevin Durant is going to be a huge addition for them. As we get ready, and I know there's a lot that's got to happen between now and by the time training camp starts next year, or, obviously in October for next season. But you can now not have a conversation about, hey, give me the top teams in the Western Conference and not put the Houston Rockets there. I think they were already there. I think they definitely had some deficiencies, but at the same time, I like their style of play. And now adding Kevin Durant to this team, you're a Laker fan, you're a whatever team in the Western Conference, you're like, geez, okay, well, now all of a sudden you got 2 teams in the Western Conference that made a trade together. I'll get into Phoenix in just a second because I think Phoenix is an interesting conversation as well. Now you got 2 teams, specifically the Houston Rockets, that they're going to be a headache. And they got a legitimate chance. Again, we'll see what happens. The dust will settle. Are Oklahoma City Thunder going to win a finals this year? What are the changes they make? What are the Lakers going to do? What do the Warriors do to improve their team? How aggressive will San Antonio be? There's a lot of conversations in the Western Conference. But before free agency even starts, that Kevin Durant is now part of the Houston Rockets. And again, this isn't he's not going to sign a 5-year deal, and Kevin Durant's not going to be a Rocket for the next. He's 37 years old too. So it's not like Kevin Durant is perfect. It's not that Kevin Durant is can carry a team on his own or anything like that. But I thought, and this is something that I mentioned a couple different times, KD has to be on a team, in my opinion, that the structure is all there. And all KD has to do is just be Kevin Durant. That's why, some of the other teams that were out there, I guess Minnesota could have made some sense, even though I wasn't too crazy about that being a destination for him. My problem with San Antonio is they're so young. Does that timetable make sense? Does it make sense to throw KD on that team at this stage of his career? Or does it make sense for San Antonio to say, all right, let's just hold on to our rookie of the year, and we got De'Aaron Fox, and Victor Wembanyama obviously is a complete stud, and we got the number 2 pick coming in, and there's other players and other assets that they have. Is there a different path for San Antonio that doesn't include KD? They obviously decided that wasn't going to be the best fit. What Houston has and the foundation they built is perfect for Kevin Durant. There's a need for Kevin Durant. Here's the one thing that I was never crazy about with KD. If you ask KD to do things that are not in KD's, maybe not the strengths of Kevin Durant, I don't know if you're going to get the best version of KD. Clearly in Phoenix and in Brooklyn and some of his other stops, I don't think there was a foundation. I don't think these teams knew what the hell they were doing. I think these front offices were all over the place. KD now gets to come to a situation that reminds me more of an OKC or a Golden State. It's like, hey, we have a specific role for you where you can shine. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to shine in Houston. So my initial thoughts on the deal, I think this is the worst thing that could have played out for any fan of a team in the Western Conference, obviously including the Los Angeles Lakers. I just think he's going to excel here, and I think they're going to do really, really well. If I look at it the other way, and I go look at the Phoenix Suns, to be honest with you, I don't really hate it for the Suns either. I think for Phoenix, clearly, that franchise wasn't going to do anything. They got their own issues. Clearly, that franchise has got to figure out, are they trying to win now, or are they trying to win for the future? And frankly, if they're trying to win now, that means you're just kind of trying to sneak into the playoffs, something along those lines. Do I like a 3-guard Jalen Green, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal? Of course I don't. I think you need to get, one of those guys got to get traded. It ain't going to be Devin Booker. So it's really Bradley Beal or Jalen Green. Well, Bradley Beal has said multiple times, still insane that the guy has a no trade clause. Doesn't look like he wants to go anywhere. He wants to stay in Phoenix. So I think the question is going to be, do you start shopping around Jalen Green? Do you say, all right, what can we get for a player like Jalen Green who's got some talent? I thought he had a good season last year. Maybe this isn't the end for the Phoenix Suns. I do think they can use Dillon Brooks. I like that. I think that number 10 pick, if you want to start building for the future a little bit, go see what kind of, what you can draft at number 10. But Phoenix, at least what this gives them is a couple different options. It gives them the options of, they know Devin Booker, they want to be a part of the future. Everybody else is kind of up for grabs. It's a question of, are you rebuilding, or are you going to try to use some of the assets that you got from the Houston Rockets and go flip some of those? I think Dillon Brooks is the type of player that they need, because they just had no toughness or identity or anything like that, or defense. So we'll see if they end up keeping him. And I guess the question is going to be Jalen Green. I did read something from Bobby Marks. Bobby Marks says to expect this deal to get expanded to the Rockets to avoid the first apron. I wonder if that expansion includes finding a different team for Jalen Green. The Suns reportedly don't want him. They didn't get enough in return, in my opinion, to also get saddled with his contract. So that's one opinion from Bobby Marks. I've also read other things out there that no, Phoenix will want to keep him. So who knows? Who knows what they end up doing specifically with him? Devin Booker, I think this is kind of well reported, can extend the summer for up to 2 years, $150 million starting on July 6th. So, we'll see what happens in regards to Devin Booker. He's probably going to get paid. But I think at the end of the day, this makes the Western Conference continue to be just this grueling conference to make any noise in. And if you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be a problem this year. This is me talking on June 22nd without knowing what else happens. Thunder will be a problem. I think the Warriors got a good chance of being a problem. I think the Rockets will be a problem. I think depending on what the Lakers do this offseason, obviously they're going to try to address their needs and build from wherever they were. There's a number of teams. Denver's still going to be in the mix. Clippers are going to find ways to be competitive. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. But the domino, everybody thought initially the offseason can't start until we know what's going to happen to Giannis Antetokounmpo. We now know what's going to happen to Giannis. Doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere. The other domino that was going to fall was eventually going to be what's going to happen to Kevin Durant. KD just fell to the Rockets, made the West even tougher, and or at least certainly made another team very tougher, much tougher in the Western Conference. And now we'll have to see, obviously what happens from here. But that's the big news of the day. And there's also a Game 7 tonight. So you're going to tell me the NBA on June 22nd gets KD traded to the Rockets, and then also gets a Game 7 between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So there's obviously a lot cooking today, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be an exciting day, but I think the biggest thing to take away is the competition in the Western Conference is not going to get any easier by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, a couple things. And I could read this tomorrow on the show when I'm doing the show at 8 a.m. By the way, Eric Pincus is going to join the show tomorrow, so I'm really happy to have him on. But the other thing that I'm looking for from everybody else, just your thoughts. What do you guys make of the trade? I'm seeing some things on Twitter right now. Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, who's an absolute stud, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith Jr., and Şengün will be the starting lineup, most likely for the Houston Rockets. That's a solid starting lineup. And that starting lineup's got size. That starting lineup's got length. That starting lineup's got vets. That starting lineup's got youth. That starting lineup's got they got a little bit of everything. Guys that understand their roles. That's an interesting one. I mean, it really, really is. So let's see what eventually happens in regards to this, but at least it gives everybody just a good idea of what to expect for this upcoming season, at least from one of these teams. All right, let's let's get ready to wrap it up here. You guys want my prediction for Game 7? Oh, Jesus. All right, the easy answer is the Oklahoma City Thunder because they're at home. You know what? I'm going to roll the dice. I think this is the first time that I'm picking the Indiana Pacers at any point in these playoffs. I say Pacers get the upset in Game 7. Pacers get the upset in Game 7. Wild to think that they're in this spot and they're in this position, but give them all the credit in the world because they freaking deserve it. Let's roll the dice here a little bit. Let's pick the Pacers in 7. Now, granted, I picked Thunder in 6, so I'm not trying to make a prediction here like I was right from the beginning because I wasn't. But I'll take my chances and I'll go with that. I'll see you guys tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't mind, and we'll see you tonight after Game 7.